Welcome to Professional Quotient, or PQ. These are the conversations where we are really trying to explore how people can develop their own professional equity. Because just like an IQ or your emotional quotient, your EQ, you have a PQ. And the PQ is something we can easily raise every day. So these are the kinds of conversations we want to have, because PQ can be raised simply by learning from others, the knowledge and wisdom others have. And so that's kind of my theory. And that's why I really wanted to invite you today, Lauren. Thank you for being a guest.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you, Jason.
Awesome. First of all, would you like to just introduce yourself to us?
Sure. Well, I'm Lauren Sanchez. I am the Chief Operating Officer at Semper Mind. We facilitate training workshops that help people discover their greatest communication strengths, and we also help teams that are struggling with communication. But in addition to that, I also serve as the Director of Strategic Client Solutions for Solution Sparks, and we help HR leaders modernize their HR organizations and teams and help them develop talent investment strategies.
Awesome. That sounds like you have a lot going on.
It's fun. It's fun. I'm also a mom of 3, so juggling is like my daily life.
Even more things going on. Well, thank you so much for dedicating some time to us, Lauren. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very much appreciate that. Well, our professional quotient is in my mind, it's really built up by that professional equity that we accrue. And equity, I like that term because just like financial equity, it's the things you stick in your pocket. And no matter where you're at in your career, you take those with you. So just like when you buy a home and you pay on it, if you sell it, you get the equity out that goes with you. So the professional equity is things like our skills, our education, our experience, and the network that we've built. So out of those, what would you say is the most valuable aspect of your portfolio of professional equity?
Yeah, it's a great question. There's 2 that come to mind. I would say, especially right now, because we were sharing about earlier, I started a business. And so right now, experience is something that's made such a difference. Prior to starting a business about 9 months ago, I was with the same company for 12 years. And even though I had served in a lot of different roles and had a lot of different experiences, I was at the same company for 12 years, the whole time. And so when I first stepped out on my own as an entrepreneur, I kind of felt like this baby deer that was wobbly and trying to stand up on its knees and looking like a deer caught in headlights, all the time. That's what I felt like because I didn't feel confident in myself at first. But that's where I think experience really kicks in. I think when you can go back and you can kind of name and claim, hey, I do have this expertise in marketing and leadership development and change and transformation and things that a lot of other people are struggling with. I've been there. I've done that. And I have that. When we can name and claim that, I think it gives us this foundation that we can stand on. And then when you take in your network, when you add in the network and the people that you know, it's kind of like pouring Miracle Grow on that foundation. It just makes it bloom so much faster having that network.
Absolutely. So you're saying your experience and your network combined are your 2 that you're most valuable. That's not to say anything else is not valuable by any means, but these are the things that we look at and say, wow, I'm so glad I have this.
Right. And I think it also depends on where you're at in your journey at that moment. You kind of say, where am I at? Am I at a place where I'm launching into a new thing? And I think being able to lean on your experience from the past to launch on that new thing, it makes sense. But if you're at a place where you're like, no, we've been sustaining for a while, we're trying to grow to the next area, maybe that's when it's time to bring in new skills. Maybe that's when it's time to invest more into your network. I think it just depends where you're at.
Absolutely. Now, can I ask, can you share any challenges that you've overcome in acquiring and developing your professional equity?
Yeah. So I used to be really shy. I used to be really shy when it came to speaking up in meetings. I was really shy about promoting myself. I was really shy about taking up space in general. And I think it is because I had this misconception that shy and humble are the same thing when they're actually not, right? Like you can be shy you can be humble. You can be shy all the time, but you can be humble and you can also still share your voice. You can be humble and you can share your perspective. You can be humble and you can share about yourself and share about others and lift others. And I think when we can kind of separate the two of those things and realize that like we have a place to stand on, someone once gave me the really good advice and the reminder that anywhere you sit in the world, you have a seat at some table. You are sitting somewhere and you've been invited to that meeting or that conversation or that conference for a reason. And when you're there, it's your responsibility to bring your voice to the conversation. I think it's that piece. It reminded me that, we all have these different backgrounds that we come from, these different experiences that have shaped who we are. And that gives us a perspective. And having that perspective allows us to kind of have that voice. And it's a reminder that we're sitting there for a reason. Share that voice.
Absolutely. Now, are there things that you did to overcome your shyness in those meetings, like practical tips you could share, or was it just a realization and then snap?
It was actually my manager. I had a manager named Natalie Tran, and what she told me was, she was like, Lauren, you're speaking for 10 seconds in every meeting, and I think you have a lot more to share than just those 10 seconds. And so she told me to get a Post-it note, and she told me to write tally marks. And she is like, every single time I want you to have like 5 tally marks for every meeting. And I was like, that's a lot of speaking up. And she was like, yes, take up this space. You have a perspective to share it. And so I would keep my little Post-it note, and I was like, oh no, the meeting's about to run out. I have to have like 2 more tally marks. And it would cause me to almost plan ahead of time. Okay, what are the 5 things that I want to add to this meeting and add value to it? And I'd have it ready and be ready to share.
Awesome. So that's a very good practical tip. So you said, I'm shy, but I'm going to do it anyway. So you already had made the intention that you're going to overcome shyness before you did this. And then you started just tracking. And then did it feel like, do you still need to track in meetings?
Now they're like, Lauren, hold it. So it goes the other direction. So,
why do you think it's important that everyone at the table uses their voice?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that there are so many lost ideas because people aren't sharing them. I think people have great ideas. They have great questions that maybe will open up an idea. And I think we will get better results if everyone's bringing their full selves, their full ideas to the table.
Mm-hmm. I certainly resonate with your feelings of shyness. I remember a number of meetings where even when I felt like I had something to share, I guess being neurodivergent, I always felt like I was looking at the pieces of the puzzle differently than everyone else, but I assumed that everybody else had the same vision. So an example might be that and this is totally a made up example, but it's like I'm sitting at a dinner table and everyone's talking about the fact that they need salt added on their food. And I'm looking at the salt shaker and I'm thinking, why don't they just use the salt that's on the table? But then too much thinking happens. And then I think, oh, they must know something about this salt. This salt isn't good enough. This salt isn't the right kind of salt. This salt must not work because they're not using it. And what I realized kind of many years into being in the professional world was that sometimes the salt shaker was just like hidden behind my cup. And maybe they just didn't have vision that it was on the table. And so all of a sudden it was like, oh, okay. So even if I think this is an easy thing to spot out, it doesn't mean everybody else sees it. And so that's why I really cherish hearing from other people on their perspectives, because it could be really easy to connect dots A to B if we have all the voices participating.
I love that. I love that analogy. It just makes it so clear. That's really cool.
It's been developing over time, because it's been hard to kind of express how it is that we function in society and in different circumstances. But that's certainly my perspective on that for sure.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. That's really cool.
So if somebody were wanting to grow their professional equity in such a way to mirror your career growth and your path, perhaps they're looking at you saying, I really want to be a Lauren. I want to have my own business. I want to have the experience she has. What kind of advice would you give them, whether they're entry level or doing a career pivot later in their life? What kind of advice would you share?
Yeah, I think if they're looking to grow their career, I'll start there. If they're looking to grow their career, going back to that piece about experience, I think a mistake that a lot of people make is they say, this is me. They'll put a label on themselves. I'm a marketing person. I'm an L&D person. I'm only good at this. And I think it's a mistake. And I would highly, highly encourage people to think about all the different experiences they've had in life and kind of stack them like Legos. So think about your unique combination that gives you that edge. So it'd be that, I have this marketing experience. I have leadership development experience. I'm also really passionate about nonprofits and social impact, and I would stack that on there. And when you stack it all together, I think it gives you a unique combination that you can bring into your next role, into your next career, and kind of differentiate yourself from the average person going for that role. I think it's really important to bring all of you and kind of sell it as this combination to kind of grow into your career.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, you hit on something that, and I know this wasn't one of our questions I shared with you ahead of time, but that standing out in the marketplace is something that I've heard a lot of job seekers will say, how do I stand out? Especially when if you Google how to stand out, you're going to get the same answer that everybody else Googling that's going to get.
So, AI can't tell you. But ask it the right question.
But I like what you were saying is it's framing your unique combination. And so I just wanted to know if you had any additional thoughts on how you frame that.
Yeah, I'll give you an example. So I started my career in marketing. So I started on this side of doing like copywriting and graphic design. I think, Jason, you might have had similar paths at one point, but I started in the marketing world. And I'll be very frank, in the marketing world, I was an okay marketing person. I did decent graphic design. I was decent at like editing, right? But I switched over to learning and development about 5 years into my career. I switched over to learning and development because I had this passion around, how could I help people grow? How could I help them develop their potential? And while I didn't really know how to do the learning and development piece, I figured it out. I learned, I took classes, I got mentors who trained me in that. That's why it's really important to have that network, because it's those mentors who can help you. But as I moved into that side, what I brought with me, I didn't leave the marketing behind. I brought it along with me. I brought my graphic design skills. I brought that frame of thinking about how to get attention. When I brought that over to the L&D side of the world, they were like, oh my gosh, you can use PowerPoint? This is amazing. And it was just this moment of over here, I was decent. I was normal, but over here, because of this other skill that's a divergent skill, I'm a rock star. And then to be able to take that L&D and that marketing and move it over to the change management, project management side, they're like, what? And so I just think it has so much to do with, taking what you've learned over time and bringing it over, because other people in that industry may not have that. And I don't even think it's, I think everybody can stand out on their own. I kind of think of it like a bookshelf, if you will. We all have this unique combination of books that we've added over time. We don't have to compete with each other. What we can do is look at our stack and say, hey, this is what I bring. Here's the perspective that I have, but you have a different perspective I don't have. Let's combine it and make it stack up even higher and make it even more powerful.
I like that. Thank you. And circling back to one of the other things you valued in your professional equity portfolio is your network. Can you talk a little bit about that?
As I mentioned, when I moved over from the corporate world, so I spent probably about 12 to 14 years of my life in the corporate side, and I moved over to the entrepreneurship side. I thought I was starting all over again at first, and that felt very overwhelming, to be completely frank. But I realized really quickly that I wasn't, because I had people in my life that had also done the same transition and that were just a little bit further along from me. And so I reached out to them, and it turned out that they were like, hey, let's partner together. And it created all these just different opportunities that I never even imagined would be possible beyond my corporate career. I didn't realize that could come with me too. It's just like you said, that professional equity, it grows over time. Having a network, building those relationships early on, you never know how it's going to pan out, but it really can. So
Absolutely. And can I ask you where you felt you connected most with other people to grow your network? Was that just at work? Were you doing extra things to grow that network?
I think of it in two directions, actually. So when it comes to work and career specifically, I think the more that you can work with someone, like work on a project with someone, the deeper your work relationship goes, if you will. I think it's one thing to meet someone at a conference or meet someone, at a passing by in a hallway or on a Zoom call. But it's totally different when you get an opportunity to work side by side on a project. And so because of that, especially if you're trying to grow your career to the next level, I'd highly recommend joining like stretch projects or stretch assignments with the people that you want to work with in the future. The more you can work alongside them and they say, wow, like I can really see the value that this person adds that goes beyond a LinkedIn profile or beyond a resume, I think gives you so much more credibility. So that's one frame. I think of that in the work lens. And then from a personal side, this might be a little bit strange, but sometimes when I meet people, I don't know, I just have a feeling that there's something there and that there's something really fascinating, sometimes even with like a complete stranger. And so what I always do is I look for any conversation I have to find something fascinating that they're fascinated with, that I'm fascinated with, just to talk about and see where there's a spark. There's kind of this interest. And if there is, I just try to keep it going. I just keep reaching out and asking them about it, because I do believe you never know what relationships in your network could really help you in the future. And there's always something fascinating to learn about another person. So I just like connecting.
Absolutely. Well, people are, when you think about how many billions of brain cells we have with all those little thoughts, we're miracles, all of us, just walking around. The fact that we can have coherent speech and you can understand me and I can understand you, that to me is just amazing. And when you think about the complexity of humans, like there is something to like in everybody if we look for it. And there is usually going to be some sort of a shared interest somewhere, even if it's as basic as we both like eating pizza. But inevitably, there's going to be a lot more things than just one food that we like. So I love that you shared that. I've always found that finding, let me step back. I've always found that networking itself was an intimidating thing. Like I hear this, oh, I need to go to a networking event. And in my mind, it meant you were going into a very busy room and you're passing out business cards to everybody and you're really not getting to know anybody, but you're putting them in your little like bank of people that you can then very crudely in my mind back then, just use. Like, I'm going to use them for a discount on this membership or a discount on the car or whatever it is, whomever you're meeting. It was like transactional based. Like, I need to get to know you because I want to use you. And that to me always felt icky. And it wasn't until, I don't even know when it was in my career, but a little spark finally went off that was network just means the community of people you have around you. And the community, if it's based like when it's grown organically, like, because I love what you said, like working with them on a stretch assignment, like just being able to work with people, all of a sudden you get to know them. And when you, no matter where you're at, if you're at the same company or if you're somewhere else, you know, you can lean in because you've had that established, and it's not about what you can get out of them. It's how you can help one another at times of need. Just like any other neighbor or family member or, yeah. And so that to me was a good paradigm shift for me, was networking equals community. And it wasn't something I had at first. And so once I had that, it kind of, I don't know, it ignited more of a passion when I am at a conference or I am on a working group to really get to know the other people, because these are people that maybe you're friends for life. You don't even know yet. Like, you're just meeting them. They could be, they could mean any number of things to you over your lifespan. And so I think it's awesome and worth exploring.
I love that. I love that. That's amazing.
So can I ask you if you've had in either like a book you're reading that's helping you inspire, or a recent moment where you've really felt, seen or valued, or any other tidbit you'd like to share with us about your own professional journey?
Yeah. I'll share a book and I'll share a story. So the book real quick that I'm reading, I wish I had that copy with me, but the book that's on my shelf back there, actually, the book that I recently read that I really love, there's one called Communication Intelligence. And the reason why I really like it is because I think communication is one of those underrated skills, but it can have such a big impact on like accelerating the results that you get when it comes to your career and the people that you're working with, your community. But also, to that community point, it can help you build those stronger relationships. I think there are people in our life who matter the most to us, right? And we want those deeper connections with them. And in getting stronger communication with that other person can make such a difference. So this book, for me, it was a bunch of really, really practical tips that just opened my eyes, and little shifts that I made that really made a difference with my family, with the people I work with. I really loved it. So
awesome. Communication Intelligence. I'll have to look it up after this.
Claude Morgan is his name. So, and then this story I'll just share really quickly. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, I've been with the same company for 12 years, and about a year ago, the company, it was really rocked by, COVID and the economy. And as because of that, my role was impacted. And at first, when that happened, I was just incredibly shocked. I was so shocked. And I think so many people that are going through a similar situation right now, they can feel that. It feels kind of like this little earthquake that just happened in your life that nobody else can see, but you feel it. And what I was also surprised about in a very good way was how many people reached out. Like how many people reached out and were like, hey, are you okay? Like, I care about you. I want you to be okay. And it wasn't just that they reached out that week or that month. They reached out for months. And I think that that's where, to your point, like, a network, when it's like a real network, it's not just a network, it's a community. And that community is what helps lift you up in times of shock, but also it takes you to where you are today. Like I don't think I'd be the person I am today without the people that have supported me and helped lift me up in my life. And so I'm just so grateful for that. And I'm just grateful for that opportunity to be here with you and as part of our community here today.
Absolutely. I can't say enough how much I value the community that we're able to build up. I just think that that's foundational, because none of us are on an island alone, even at those moments when we feel alone, when a role is impacted. And at that moment, you're going to feel as alone as you can in a career because you're on your own. But even then, like you're saying, people are reaching out, people are concerned. You've got so many people that just in our lives. And so this is something that I think it's definitely within my professional equity. That's definitely one of the things I value most is that community of people that we built up. And I came into the professional world many, many years ago now, thinking kind of an opposite thought of, you need to go to work and keep your personal life and your work life very separate. It's like, I'm going to do my 8 to 5, then I'm going to check out and leave my brain behind at the door and all those connections. And ironically, it did not work out that way for me in the best possible way, because I started making friends there at work that have become my friends. And some of them I talk to every single day now. And so it's one of those, I never thought it would happen. And it happened almost against my will, but it was the best possible thing that could have happened because it kind of blew my mind open on the possibilities of what this is. And when we come into any place, whether it's work, if you've got like your special interest things like sports or church families or your family or friendship circles, all of those things are opportunities where so much more can happen when we're connected with each other and we're lifting each other up and supporting each other.
Yeah.
We are not alone. We are not alone.
Not alone.
Is there anybody you would recommend that we feature on the PQ podcast?
I have 3 people for you, if you would like. So I would highly recommend reaching out to Mike O'Hora if you have not reached out to him. He has been extremely instrumental, not just in my corporate career, but also in my entrepreneurship journey. He's just always someone who I always call it Mikeisms. He has these little catchphrases that just stick with you, but it's like simple yet powerful advice, like all the time. So I would highly, highly reach out to him if you'd like. A second person I'd recommend is Pete Sackla, and that I mentioned earlier. Pete, he is the person that, it's funny, he'll both kind of open your mind to what's possible and invite these new ideas, but somehow infuse this like dad humor that makes it just very relatable. And so I always love to pick his brain on different things. And then the third person I'd recommend is Sahara Dekorkian. If you knew her from our days together, I think she has just a really fascinating perspective on almost all things life, and brings in elements that I would have never considered or even heard of, but it is just really, really fascinating. So those are 3 people for you to consider.
When we have a developed PQ, our professional quotient, we are then able to share with others and invest in them. And this is one of the ways we can invest in others, is just by sharing our thoughts. So thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll just add to that I feel so blessed because I think so many people have invested in me and poured in me, and I wouldn't be where I am today without their investment and their care. There's so many mentors that have just poured into me. And because of that, if anyone that's listening to this says like, I really resonate with your story, Lauren, I'd love to talk, then I would just encourage them to feel free to reach out. I'm always happy to have that chat, always happy to build the connection and reach out.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Lauren. So remember, unlike your IQ or your EQ, you can always easily raise your PQ. Just keep learning, building, and connecting.